Imagine being told, with absolute certainty, exactly how you will die. Not by a stranger, not by an enemy, by your own family, the moment you are born, simply because of what they believe you might one day become. This is the story of Fenrir, the great wolf of Norse mythology. Not a monster born evil, not a beast that chose destruction. A creature the gods themselves created, in the most literal sense, through their own fear, their own paranoia, and their own betrayal. Tonight, we are not simply telling you about a wolf who eventually kills Odin at the end of the world. We are telling you how the gods, in trying desperately to prevent that fate, guaranteed it would happen exactly as prophesied, and how one god's sacrifice of his own hand became the moment that sealed everything. By the end, you will understand why the Norse considered this story not simply a tale of a monster, but a warning about the terrible power of self-fulfilling fear. The birth of monsters. Fenrir was not born in Asgard, home of the gods, and he was not born of ordinary parentage. According to the Prose Edda, written by the Icelandic scholar Snorri Sturluson, Fenrir was the son of Loki, the trickster god, and a giantess named Angroda, whose name itself translates to the one who brings grief. Loki fathered 3 children with Angroda, and each of them would become central to the eventual destruction of the entire cosmos. Jormungandr, a serpent so massive that when eventually cast into the sea, it grew large enough to encircle the entire world, biting its own tail. Hel, who would come to rule the realm of the Dishonor dead, and Fenrir, the wolf, who at his birth was simply a wolf pup, unremarkable in size, indistinguishable from any other creature born into the 9 realms. But the gods did not see an ordinary wolf pup when they looked at Fenrir. According to the Prose Edda, the gods had received prophesies, delivered through the visions of seers, who could glimpse fragments of Ragnarok, the foretold end of the world. These prophesies spoke of a great wolf, who would break free from all bonds, who would grow to a size beyond comprehension, and who would ultimately kill Odin himself, the All-Father, king of all the gods, during the final battle that would end the current age of the world entirely. The gods did not wait to see what kind of creature Fenrir would actually become. They did not wait to observe his behavior, to see if he showed any sign of the violence prophecy claimed he would eventually unleash. They looked at an infant wolf, still small enough to be harmless, and they saw only the ending they had already been told was coming. This is the detail that should unsettle you. Before we go any further, everything that happens to Fenrir in this story happens not because of anything he did, but because of what the gods were told he would eventually do. He was punished, repeatedly, escalatingly, for a future that had not yet occurred, based entirely on prophecy rather than action, raised in fear. According to the Prose Edda, Odin, aware of the danger the prophesies described, decided the gods needed to keep Fenrir close, where they could observe him and control the threat he represented. Fenrir was brought to Asgard and raised among the gods themselves, and for a time, only one god was brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, to approach him without fear. That god was Tyr, the god of war, justice, and law, known even among the Aesir for his extraordinary courage and his unwavering sense of honor. According to the myth, Tyr was the only one willing to feed Fenrir with his own hands, the only one who treated the young wolf with anything resembling normal care. rather than suspicion and dread. But even as Tyr fed him, the other gods watched Fenrir grow, and their fear grew alongside him. Every additional inch of size, every additional pound of muscle and bone, was interpreted not as the natural growth of any young creature, but as confirmation that the prophecy was accelerating toward its terrible conclusion. The gods were not simply raising a wolf. They were watching, with mounting horror, what they had already convinced themselves was an unstoppable countdown to their own destruction. This is worth sitting with for a moment, because it reveals something genuinely troubling about how the gods approached the entire situation from the very beginning. They never once considered that their own fear, their own escalating suspicion, might itself become the catalyst for exactly the outcome they were trying so desperately to prevent. They treated Fenrir's growth as evidence of an inevitable, unchangeable fate, rather than as a situation they themselves were actively shaping through every decision they made in response to it. The first chains. Eventually, the gods decided they could not simply watch and wait any longer. According to the Prose Edda, they resolved to bind Fenrir, to restrain him with chains strong enough to prevent him from ever fulfilling the destruction the prophesied described. They did not announce this decision to Fenrir as an act of fear. They framed it instead as a game, a test of strength, appealing to the wolf's own pride and his growing awareness of his own power. The gods presented Fenrir with a heavy iron chain called lading, and challenged him to test his strength against it, framing the entire exercise as sport rather than imprisonment. Fenrir, whether out of genuine confidence or simple willingness to play along with gods he had grown up trusting, allowed himself to be bound. And then, with what the Prose Edda describes as minimal effort, he broke the chain entirely, snapping the iron as though it were nothing more substantial than a length of ordinary rope. The gods, rather than reconsidering their approach, simply concluded they needed a stronger chain. They forged a second binding, called Dromi, twice as strong as the first, and once again framed the challenge as a game, an opportunity for Fenrir to prove his growing might. Fenrir agreed to this second test as well, and once again, though it required visibly more effort this time, he eventually broke free, tearing through metal that the gods had genuinely believed capable of holding him. Notice the pattern beginning to establish itself here, because it is central to understanding everything that follows. Each time the gods attempted to bind Fenrir through ordinary means, and each time Fenrir broke free, the gods' fear did not diminish. It intensified. Each escape chain was not received as evidence that perhaps their fear was disproportionate to the actual threat. It was received as further confirmation that Fenrir's power was growing beyond anything ordinary methods could contain, which meant, in the gods' minds, that more drastic measures were now not simply justified, but urgently necessary. The impossible chain, with ordinary iron proving insufficient, the gods turned to a source of power beyond their own forges entirely. According to the Prose Edda, Odin sent the messenger god Skirnir down into the realm of the dwarfs, master craftsmen capable of forging objects with properties that defied the ordinary rules of the physical world. The dwarfs created a chain unlike anything that had existed before, called Gleipnir, and its construction reveals something genuinely fascinating about how Norse mythology conceived of binding and restraint. Gleipnir was not forged from metal at all. It was woven from 6 impossible ingredients: the sound of a cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Each of these ingredients represented something that, in the ordinary world, simply does not exist or cannot be gathered, precisely because that is what made the resulting chain so powerful. A cat's footsteps make no sound. Women, in the mythological framework of the story, do not grow beards. Mountains have no roots that can be harvested. This is why, according to the myth, these things no longer exist in the world today. The dwarfs gathered every last trace of them to create Gleipnir. And once used, that raw material was gone from the world forever. The result was a binding that appeared, deceptively, as nothing more than a thin silken ribbon, smooth and unimpressive to look at, seemingly far weaker than either of the two iron chains Fenrir had already broken with ease. And this is precisely where the story turns, from simple escalation into genuine betrayal. The third test and Tyr sacrifice. When the gods brought Gleipnir to Fenrir and asked him to test his strength against it once more, the wolf, according to the Prose Edda, was no longer willing to play along so easily. He looked at the thin, unassuming ribbon, and something in him understood, with a clarity the gods had perhaps not anticipated, that its harmless appearance was itself a trap. Fenrir spoke, and his words, preserved across centuries of retelling, reveal a creature far more perceptive than the gods had perhaps given him credit for. He said that he would gain no honor from breaking such a thin, seemingly insignificant band, and that if the gods had truly crafted it with such subtle cunning that it only appeared weak, then he suspected it was not made for his glory, but for his imprisonment. He agreed to the test, but only under one condition. He demanded that one of the gods place their hand inside his mouth, as a gesture of good faith, a guarantee that this was, as the gods claimed, simply another game, and not a genuine attempt at permanent betrayal disguised as sport. Silence followed this demand. According to the myth, every god present understood exactly what Fenrir was asking, and every god present understood exactly what would happen to whichever one of them agreed. If the chain held, as the gods fully intended and expected, the god who had placed their hand inside Fenrir's mouth would lose that hand entirely, bitten off the moment Fenrir realized he had been deceived and permanently bound. Only Tyr stepped forward. Sit with this moment, because it is the emotional and moral center of the entire myth. Tyr, the god who had raised Fenrir, who had fed him with his own hands, when the young wolf was too small and unthreatening for the other gods to bother approaching, who had built something resembling genuine trust with a creature everyone else regarded only with suspicion and dread, was the one who now had to become the instrument of that same creature's ultimate, permanent betrayal. Tyr placed his hand inside Fenrir's mouth, and the binding began. As Gleipnir tightened around him, Fenrir strained against it with everything his enormous strength could produce. And for the first time, the chain did not break. It held, exactly as the dwarfs had promised, and Fenrir understood immediately, with the silken ribbon cutting into him without ever tearing, that he had been trapped, permanently, by the one god who had ever shown him something resembling kindness. In that moment of realization, Fenrir closed his jaws, and Tyr's hand was severed at the wrist. The weight of the sacrifice. Consider what actually happened in this moment, because it is worth examining from every angle before moving forward. Tyr did not lose his hand in battle, defending Asgard from an external threat. He lost it specifically because he was the one god, willing to bear the personal cost of a deception the other gods had collectively engineered. but were unwilling to personally pay for. The other gods needed Fenrir bound. They needed the prophecy contained, or at least delayed. But none of them, apparently, were willing to be the one to place their own body inside the wolf's mouth, as bait for a trap they all knew would ultimately be sprung. Tyr's sacrifice was not simply an act of individual bravery. It was, in a very real sense, the price the entire pantheon extracted from the one relationship built on something resembling genuine trust between god and monster, precisely because that trust was the only leverage they had left to exploit. And Fenrir, for his part, was not punished for any crime he had actually committed. He had broken no oath. He had attacked no god, devoured no one, fulfilled none of the destruction the prophesied described. He was bound, permanently, mouth propped open by a sword the gods wedged between his jaws, so that his saliva formed a river called expectation, or in some translations, hope, flowing eternally from his restrained, helpless form. He was punished entirely for what the gods feared he might eventually become, based on a prophecy he never had the opportunity to disprove, defy, or even meaningfully respond to. The prophecy fulfilled. Here is where the story becomes genuinely tragic. In its final, devastating irony. According to both the Prose Edda and the Poetic Edda, Fenrir remains bound by Gleipnir until Ragnarok, the foretold end of the world, when the chain that has held for an age finally breaks, and the wolf, now enormous beyond anything his youthful size had suggested, finally breaks free. When Ragnarok arrives, Fenrir does exactly what the original prophecy always claimed he would do. He kills Odin, the All-Father, in single combat during the final battle, devouring the king of the gods whole, in the exact manner the seers had foretold from the very beginning, before Fenrir had ever done anything to earn that fate, through his own choices or actions. This is the detail that transforms the entire myth, from a simple story about containing a dangerous monster, into something far more philosophically troubling. The gods spent Fenrir's entire early life trying desperately to prevent a prophecy from coming true, and in doing so, through fear, through escalating betrayal, through the permanent, humiliating imprisonment of a creature who had done nothing yet to deserve it, they created exactly the conditions that guaranteed the prophecy's fulfillment. Would Fenrir have grown into the world-ending threat the prophecy described if the gods had never bound him at all? The myth does not, and perhaps cannot, answer that question directly. But it is worth asking whether a creature raised in trust rather than fear, treated as a member of the community rather than a ticking countdown to catastrophe, permanently betrayed by the one relationship that offered him something resembling belonging, might have become something other than the vengeful destroyer he ultimately was fated to become. The lesson beneath the myth. This is why the story of Fenrir has endured for over 1,000 years, translated and retold across cultures far removed from the Viking age in which it was first told. It is not simply an adventure story about clever dwarfs and a dangerous wolf. It is a meditation on the terrible, self-fulfilling power of fear itself. The gods of Asgard, for all their wisdom, for all their foresight, for all their genuine desire to protect their world from destruction, never once considered that their own response to prophecy might be the mechanism through which that prophecy was ultimately realized. They saw a wolf pup, and could see nothing except the monster they had already been told he would become. They treated fear as certainty, and treated their own escalating betrayal as simple, justified precaution, right up until the moment that precaution cost Tyr his hand. and cost Fenrir any possibility of becoming anything other than exactly what he had been raised. Through repeated betrayal, to become. There is a version of this story available to any culture, any family, any relationship built on the assumption that someone's future is already fixed, already known, already beyond the possibility of change through trust rather than restraint. The Norse understood something genuinely unsettling about the nature of prophecy and fear when they told this story. That the very act of trying to prevent a foretold future, through suspicion, through betrayal, through binding rather than believing, can become the exact mechanism that ensures the future you feared arrives precisely as predicted. Fenrir did not choose to kill Odin because he was born evil. He killed Odin because an entire pantheon of gods, faced with a choice between trust and fear, chose fear. Every single time. Until there was nothing left for Fenrir to become, except exactly what they had always expected him to be. So here is the question worth sitting with as you finish this video. If you were told, with absolute certainty, precisely how someone in your life was fated to eventually hurt you, would you be able to resist the temptation to treat that prophecy as inevitable? Or would your own fear, your own precautions, your own quiet, escalating betrayals in the name of self-protection, become the very thing that guaranteed the outcome you were trying so desperately to prevent? If this kind of story pulls you in, subscribe, because there are darker gods and older nightmares still waiting in the depths of this mythology. And I am not done pulling them into the light.